Slow Horse's antagonist Hugo Weaving teases thrilling finale. Great way to end a season. The Brit, best known for his role in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, joined this season's cast of Apple TV Plus' hit spy thriller based on the Slough House series of novels by Mick Herron. Weaving stars as Frank Harkness, a former CIA agent turned cult leader aiming to populate the planet with trained killers, who will gladly do their father's sinister bidding. But as the season has unfolded, viewers have come to realize Harkness might be none other than River Cartwright's, Jack Lowden, biological father. After all, the physical similarities between River and Robert Winters, a.k.a. Betrand, who Jonathan Pryce's David Cartwright shot and killed, are pretty eerie. Meanwhile, Gary Oldman's greasy, drunk yet impossibly wise Jackson Lamb has made it his mission to locate the elder Cartwright, who is suffering from dementia and losing his memory. Although Catherine Standish, Saskia Reeves, has not been too happy with Lamb's methods, the Slough House leader plotted on and harshly convinced David that his grandson, River, is dead. When David admits he did it all for her, referencing his daughter, the former MI5 officer's involvement with Harkness becomes terrifyingly clear. Isabel, River's mother, played by Anna Wilson-Jones, was taken and impregnated by Harkness at Les Arbres. In order to get his daughter back, David explained he traded with Weaving's character the cold body passports and supplied Les Arbres with weaponry and money. This is all the while Emma Flight, Ruth Bradley, the new head of the Dogs, is attempting to track David down. Kristen Scott Thomas stars as Diana Taverner, Naomi Worthner as Molly Doran, Rosalind Eliezer as Louisa Guy, Amy Fionn Edwards as Shirley Dander and Cadef Kerwin as Marcus Longridge in the highly anticipated Season 4 finale, Hello Goodbye, airing on October 9th on Apple TV+. Below, Weaving speaks to The Hollywood Reporter about turning to Herron's books for inspiration, why Frank Harkness helps focus our attention on what Slow Horses is truly about, and what audiences can take away from the season finale while awaiting the already renewed Season 5. For a viewer, I think it works. It's a great way to end the season. I'm interested to know, were you a fan of the show before your involvement? I had literally just said to myself, I've got to watch Slow Horses. I'd heard about it, and I thought I must watch Season 1, because there's lots of things I want to watch, you know? Then the next day, I got an offer to play Frank with 6 scripts. And I thought, well, now I'll definitely watch it. So I read the script, and I watched Season 1 pretty much the same day. It was a fantastic role, and very easy to say yes to. One of the things I did before I signed off on it was that I wanted to also read the books that Frank appears in. I really raced to read anything to do with Frank. I read 3 books just to get as much information on Frank as I could that wasn't actually contained in the season on screen at the moment. Did you find that you were letting that character in the books influence your portrayal on screen? Yeah, it did. I wanted to see what Mick Herron had to say about Frank, who he was from Mick's point of view. Because it's the man who created him, initially. And then, what's the difference between Frank in the book and Frank in the series? And there were definitely differences in emphasis. I always want to bring as much complexity as I can into any character, as much contrast. Because the more contrastive anyone is, the more real they are. To me, all human beings are complex. So I'm always fascinated about complexities in characterization and in character, and Frank is a gift, in a way, because he's like a father figure. So he's meant to be a teacher, a nurturer, right? But he's also lethal. He's also a killer. You'd be really incredibly wary of having anything to do with this man. That's a fabulous dichotomy, I think. He's a great new addition to the Slow Horses family, and he's a fascinating man in his own right. And your portrayal is extremely sinister but has so much depth. Is playing the villain right ground for you? I do talk about the villain, but from an acting perspective, I never think of the character I'm playing as being the villain. I understand that maybe in the construct of the film, or the TV series, that is the role. But I don't find that useful. It's useful to know, but then you can't do much more with it. Finding the human being, that is what you have to chase down. Do you find Frank quite different to characters you've played before? Yeah, I do. I think he's someone who works in the shadows. He's an intelligence. He's a secret, and he's also gone off-piste. He's clandestine, he's rebellious. He went against his own organization, the CIA. He's highly evolved in one way and he's unsentimental. He knows exactly what secret services do and what they sometimes need to do, and how some of the things they get involved in need to be completely deniable, like, "We have nothing to do with the killing of this world leader. We didn't do it." He understands that, and I think that's the world in which he operates. So his experience is really unusual. It's not something that most people would have. And yet as a human being, when we see him and he's face to face with someone, he needs to not appear to be that. Unless he wants to be threatening, he needs to be pleasant, polite, charming, obeying. He's intensely capable but also buried, hidden. Those things don't reveal themselves very often because they don't need to, and they shouldn't. Otherwise, he's not doing his job properly. I love this whole idea about slow horses being centered on a dysfunctional family. Slough House is a house in which a whole lot of kids live, looked after by a father figure, Lamb. And they all want Lamb's love, but they also don't, really, and they also feel rejected by the other house they used to live in, the other parent, the mother. And into that world of needing to be noticed and needing to be accepted, which we all feel, is why Slow Horses is a great series. This season seems to be increasingly focused on family. David's losing his marbles, the one father figure is losing his marbles. Another father figure, Lamb, is still there. And then this other father figure comes in. So something about the introduction of Frank into Slow Horses focuses our attention on what Slow Horses is actually about. And I think it's really fascinating. Can you give us a teaser of what's to come? River gets kidnapped. We already know that he's been put in a boot of a car. He gets taken to this place by Pryce, the robotic killer. The beginning of episode 6 is the most fantastic thing. There's a great deal of tension going on because there's a ticking time bomb element to it, but there's also a desire for Frank to want to take River with him. It's a preposterous offer for River, but it's an extreme proposition from Frank.